Whoa, look at the spy brain on that jet. Whoa, what? Like a chocolate Google. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Don't do it. Stop. Stop.
You get good at this, man. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's longitude and latitude. All you got to do is plug those digits into the GPS, and boom, we're going to catch the lion and the badger just like that.
Boston.
We're going to need a plane.
You never made the meeting. It's not funny.
Hello?
Hello. Okay, we're going to start.
Okay. Okay. Let me just get it on.
Hold on.
Switch to gallery. There we go. Okay, here we go.
Just see if you can get me on yours.
You see it?
No. Zeidy's pure.
We're there. Hello, Michael.
Hello, Rabbi. Hi there.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you guys?
Just give me the code.
Okay.
Give me the code.
Yeah, that's the code.
So,
What's the code?
can I say hi?
Sure, sir.
Just 1 second.
Hi, Mike.
942.
Michael, how are you?
Thanks, Marsha. How are you doing?
Hello.
Oh, Hillary. Good to see you.
942.
Good. Hi. How are you?
Switch off your side.
What's the password?
No, there is no password.
How can I go?
Just go.
Yes, you may.
Take that. Just take that.
Good, Mike.
Michael.
Right. Hi, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Michael Sosnovic. It's my pleasure to introduce today's Pirkei Avot shiur to be given by Rabbi Tanzer. I've known Marsha and Rabbi Tanzer for some 30 years. They are the epitome of Derech Eretz. And in my personal relationship with them, I've learned so much about human decency and how to treat people. And I'm so very proud to call them my friends. It's amazing that despite the lockdown here in South Africa and many of the restrictions still in place virtually all over the world, modern technology has enabled us not only to keep in touch with our loved ones, but also to work from home using Zoom, WhatsApp, and other means of communication. As a result, and despite our shuls being closed, we have been privileged to be able to learn Pirkei Avot via Zoom and Facebook from the deep wisdom, insight, and understanding of Rabbi Tanzer and from his unique way of teaching. In Mishna Aleph, Perik Tet Vav of Pirkei Avot, Shammai says, "Vehevei kabel et kol ha'adam b'sefer panim yafot," and receive everyone with a cheerful face. How very fitting is that to describe Rabbi Tanzer's demeanor at all times, and as a result, how pleasant are one's interactions with him always. So, Rabbi Tanzer, please enlighten us again with your words of wisdom.
Thank you. You are very hard act to follow. So thank you very much. Thank you for your very kind words. Thank Hillary as well. Okay, Rabbi, members of the family and extended family, dear friends, we come back to the Mishna, all right? Just to remind ourselves, we started off with Moshe Rabbeinu. You can't start off better than that. Moshe went to Yeshua to the Zakanim to the Nevi'im. They went over to the Anshe Knesset Hagdalah, right? We only had two names so far, Moshe and Yeshua. Anshe Knesset Hagdalah came to the end of Anshe Knesset Hagdalah, and suddenly we introduced the Shimon HaTzadik. Shimon HaTzadik, the Anshe Knesset Hagdalah have lost their shine. There's a Yeridat HaDorot. The generations are going down. More time is being made between us and Sinai, between us and the moment of divine revelation. Divine revelation was a revolution as opposed to an evolution. And all of a sudden, time passes and it's further away. And we're trying to recreate Sinai. All of our lives in history, we're trying to recreate Sinai in Shul. Whenever we get up to the Torah, we're trying to recreate Sinai. And here we are. And last week we introduced after Shimon HaTzadik, his disciple, or the person that succeeded him, and that was Untitled Chapter, who made a very startling remark. And I'm about to repeat that Mishna, but at the same time I'm beginning with the words of the Avraham. One of the great commentaries who lived in the 15th century was Yitzchak Avraham, born in Portugal, died in Italy. He lived entirely in the 15th century, born in the beginning, died before the end, and he was statesman. He was a financial advisor, ran the finances of Portugal. He was a brilliant Talmud Chochem who wrote on Tanakh, long essays, very long essays, complicated essays. And he wrote a book on Pirkei Avot as well, which I'm to begin quoting now. All right? His essays are very long. I'm not going to do the whole essay. Simply want to use him as an introduction because he makes points that most others don't make. And so we begin by repeating the Mishna. What's the Mishna? Or rather, let's not begin with the Mishna yet. So Rabbi is about to make a point. Shimon HaTzadik said, the world stands on three pillars. Ashleisha Dorim Olam Habayit. Torah, Avodah, Milah Chesed. Right? And now we have Yitzchak, and we have missions that follow that. After Untitled Chapter comes along Yossi ben Yoezer, Ish Sreidah, Yossi ben Yochanan, Ish Yerushalayim, two other Tanoim. And these are now being called Sanhedrin. Starting with Antigonus, it's called Sanhedrin. And no more Sanhedrin. And the Babylon points out that in actual fact, Antigonus and his successors, Yossi ben Yoezer and Yossi ben Yochanan, you know what they did? What is the gist of each one of their Mishnayot? The gist of each one, they took another one of the three pillars of Shimon HaTzadik. Antigonus talks about Avodah, as we'll soon see. How does one serve Hashem? What's the attitude one should have in serving Hashem? We dealt with it last week. We'll do it again. Yossi ben Yoezer, who came afterwards, etc., said Torah. Torah, Avodah, Milas Chasodim. What does Torah mean? How does one apply that to life? What role does that play in keeping the world on its equilibrium, on its legs? And then came the third talent, Yossi ben Yochanan, and he talked about Chesed, Milut Chasadim. So these three Tanaim, all having their own Mishna in Pirkei Avot, are enlarging on the teaching of Shimon HaTzadik, thus extending the influence of the Anshe Knesset another generation, and again trying to work out to clarify the rules that make it up. Now, having said that, let's take a look at the Mishnah again, the one that we have been doing. And it's an interesting statement. I'm going to read it to you again, and I want you to think about it as we say it. What could it mean? What could it mean? All right. So the words that we have are as follows: Antigonus Shitzoho, etc. He was Kibel Mishimon HaTzadik. The word Kibel means he was not on the level of Shimon HaTzadik, because he didn't get it all. He couldn't get it all. So he got whatever he could. That's called Kibel. All right. There's another word implied in this Kibel as well, as opposed to the word Mosar that was used till now. In other words, when it says Mosar, not only does it refer to the totality of the message, totality of the learning that was transferred, it also means something else. The authority of the sage came from the previous generation. In other words, Antigonus Shitzoho, those before Antigonus Shitzoho all received their standing, their validity. They were validated by the generation before them. Mosar means not only they gave them the learning, they gave them the title. They gave them the title of leadership. They put them into the positions of the world. That ended here. That ended with Antigonus. Antigonus Shitzoho came along. It no longer said Masar, it says Kibel. What was that all about? We're now moving into the Sanhedrin. The generations are going down. It's not the same as it was. Tigli Shitzocha didn't know what Shimon HaTzadik knew, and he wasn't appointed by Shimon HaTzadik. So what happened? From now on, in every generation, there were disciples, great scholars, a handful at the end of the day, a short list, as you would say, of the greatest scholars of the generation, and among them, they themselves realized that one was preeminent, and they appointed him to be the head. And that became the head of Sanhedrin. And Tigli Shitzocha was appointed by his peers. His peers appointed him, and he is about to make his statement. And he's making a statement. And what is he saying? I'm opening the statement for discussion, but you can't talk back, so we'll have to just imagine the discussion. And he says, Al tiyu kavadim, do not be like servants, Hamisham Mesarav, who serve their master in order to receive reward. Do not be like servants who serve their master on condition to receive reward. Okay? Just allow me to put one word in. He didn't say don't serve the master because there is no reward. He didn't say that. He didn't don't serve the master because don't expect reward. He didn't say that either. He said don't make any condition of your service. Don't say I'm doing this, I want to get rewarded. Implying if I don't get rewarded, I don't want to do it. And I'd rather reject the whole thing. Ella, he says, be rather like little servants who serve the master, shelo almanas, not on the condition that we receive a reward, etc. So in other words, implied in these words, which as we saw others misunderstood and distorted, implied in these words are, there is a reward, but don't serve God for the reward, don't make conditions. Don't say, God, I'm with you as long as you're looking after me. On the condition I get a reward, on the condition that my family is in good health, on the condition I make the money I need to make, on the condition that you bless me, I'm with you. Don't say that. Don't say that. So in other words, having said that, what is it? What does it leave open? What are the possibilities? One possibility is a person should be saying, you know why I serve Hashem? Because I own everything. I own everything. It's the least I can do. It's my loyalty. It's my payback. God gives me life. He gives me health. He gives me whatever I need to live on. He gives me whatever I get from Hashem. Everything I get from Hashem and the 13 blessings in the Amidah, we're asking God for everything. I'm getting everything. So the least I can do is behave and do what He wants. So it's a privilege to do what He wants. I don't need anything else. I need no other reward. Any other reward is totally superfluous and unnecessary. Hashem, I owe it to God to do His will. All right? That's one way of looking at it. So in other words, on the other hand, there might be a reward anyhow. On the other hand, all right. Then somebody else could read into these words, which we know some people did. There's no reward. Forget about it. Doesn't exist. It's a figment of your imagination. Don't serve the master for reward. There ain't none. Get used to the idea. You're doing it for its own sake, and that's considered as a reward because it's not going to be a reward. That's very dangerous. That's very dangerous and was very dangerous and affected Jewish history for hundreds of years. And so we have different ways over here, different ways. Now I'm going to share with you a few words of the Avraham himself. As I said, 15th century, and a genius, and not that easy to follow, but Avraham, I'm looking at his text as I'm talking to you. He questions the wisdom and authenticity of that pronouncement. The wisdom and authenticity. Is it true? Is it true? Because if you're saying serve Hashem not on condition for receiving reward, you're saying don't expect reward. You're almost saying there is no reward. But Esther Babinel, since when do we find in the Torah a person is denied a reward for doing good? Is there anything in the Torah that substantiates that? That if you do good, there's no reward? and you're telling him not to expect a reward. Where do you get that from? And the reason he says it is we have psukim in the Torah. One of them is Chabad Of Zoom. Honor your father and mother in order that you live long. Hashem is telling you, I'm going to pay you back. You're going to live long, right? So in other words, Hashem tells us this reward. Maybe you shouldn't be serving Hashem for the reward, but there is a reward. And furthermore, it's a beautiful Mishna. You know, when we say Pirkei Avot and Shabbos, those who say it, it's not our custom, but those who do say it. So every time you start with a brayso, which we talked about, Kol Yisrael Yeshem Chayil Kol Mabah, you begin by quoting a brayso, and you end up with that's a Mishna. That's a Mishna, and you end up with a brayso that comes to the Gemara Makot. And whenever we learn in shul, whenever Allah learns between Nechama, he ends the learning with these words. What does it say? Rotza Kodesh Baruch Hu L'Zakot Et Yisrael. Hashem wanted to give honor. He wanted to give zechuyot, give merit to the people of Israel. So what did he do? The Philo, therefore, he Lahem Torah mitzvot. He gave them many, many Torah mitzvahs. Shenema Hashem Kofei S'leman Tzidko. Okay. What did the brayso say? Because Hashem loved the Jewish people, he gave them more mitzvot. Maybe we should argue the opposite. If he loved us so much, he should have made life easier for us. We should have less mitzvot. But that's not what it says. He not saw the zakot, he added Torah mitzvahs. Extra dimension. So once Chatzah is a interpretation of the Rambam, which one repeats all of one's life. The Rambam says as follows. There is a principle in the Torah that if somebody were to keep one mitzvah 100%, he has the world to come. Of all the 613 mitzvahs, if you keep one mitzvah 100%, or to absolute best of your ability, as close to 100%, you have Olam Haba, you have eternity, you have eternal bliss. Now, since people are different, we're all different, we all have preferences. There are different mitzvahs that resonate more than others. They're not all the same. Some people like this, some people like that. Some people like between man and God, some like between man and man. In other words, Hashem did us a favor. Since it only takes one to hit the jackpot, you can choose. You can choose, you got a whole Torah. He gave us more mitzvahs to make it easier for us. So in other words, the Pirkei Avot. So that brayso obviously.
I'll tell you what it is. Here, sit down.
Please mute yourself, Cohen.
No.
What?
He's unmuted. Someone is unmuted. Please mute yourself.
Okay. All right. So so that brayso says that that Hashem is doing us a favor by giving us one mitzvot. So we told about reward. So how can Rabbi come and tell us? How can it say all that when the Mishna itself in Makot 23b tells us Hashem loved us, therefore he gave us mitzvahs so he can give us reward. All right. Then Rabbi turns his attention to the Rambam, but maybe we'll leave Rambam for another time because he comes up again and again. And the Rambam, in a word, I'm going to read his words to you. In his rationale of the relationship between the Jew and Hashem's will, Rambam is adamant that man must unequivocally submit to the mitzvot solely because of their intrinsic significance. Man keeps the mitzvot because that's what you're supposed to do, keep mitzvot. Full stop. A, and full stop. In other words, a Jew must be good, charitable, honest, sympathetic, because that's the only way you can serve God. So there's no room for anything else. There's no room for any rewards over you. There's no room for no other reason may enter into considerations for obeying the mitzvahs. According to Rambam, if anyone has thought of gain because you do a mitzvah, you turn it into a business deal. Now, a business deal with Hashem is not a good deal. That God is not the one you don't want to do deals with. Deals you do it with business people. And so there's no such thing. And so the Rambam, in fact, is saying that one should not have anything in mind except this. Avraham texts the Rambam, he says, where's the source? Where does it say that? Torah says there's mitzvahs. Torah says, for honoring your parent is long life. Torah says he gave us more mitzvahs, so he can give us more reward. What are you basing this on? And so the Avraham is very, very tough. Very tough. And then he goes back and attacks the Antigonus again, because what he says, what are you trying to make a difference between pras and sachar? Who gets that? And he says there are contradictions to that. Pras doesn't mean the reward that a parent gives, even though they don't have to give, and sachar means compensation. Where do you get that from? So he's challenging him, and he goes so far as to say, and with this I'm going to leave him for now, he goes so far as to say that this principle, the Rambam, belongs to Aristotle. It's not Jewish. It's not a Jewish thought. And the Rambam believed in Aristotle. So this comes from the thoughts of Aristotle, which at that time was very much part of the culture of the world, but not real. All right, and therefore the Avraham carries on, and whatever he carries on, we're going to leave for now. All right. I just want to take it from here one step further. One step further. You see, we could ask a question. What are the possibilities? And we talked about it already, but before I say that, I want to give you two anecdotes, all right? The Chofetz Chaim, the famous Chofetz Chaim was, the tzaddik, the Chofetz Chaim, was once overheard making an accounting of his relationship with Hashem. And this is what he said to Hashem. He said, dear God, look what you've done for me, and what have I done for you? Look what you have done for me, and what have I done for you? You have given me the privilege of writing the Mishna Brura, the Chofetz Chaim, Shmiras Haloshim, the Likutei Halachos, and many others forms. You have given me the privilege. That's what you've given me. I give you nothing. And I give you nothing. That's how the Chofetz Chaim saw life. In other words, what he was doing, the Shem Shemaim, he called that, I'm doing it, God has given me a chance. God is giving me an opportunity. I'm supposed to be finding ways to serve Hashem. That's my responsibility. Now, please God, give me an opportunity to do something for you. That's one way to look at it. That's another way to look at the same picture we're looking at. There's furthermore, there's an interesting Gemara, and that lends itself to our discussion as well. Right? The Gemara says, "Schar mitzvah b'hayal melekeh." In this world, there's no reward. No one should look for reward in this world. It doesn't exist. Don't soon see what that means. There's no reward for mitzvahs in this world. Don't expect it. Don't anticipate it. Okay. All right. No reward for mitzvahs. And I said the other day, in the name of the Rambam, whatever Hashem gives us in this world, and much of it seems like a reward, is not a reward. It's simply to give us the wherewithal to practice the way of life we choose. If we choose to be committed to Hashem, servants of Hashem, thus we need to be able to live a certain lifestyle. We need to live in a certain neighborhood where we can live with other Jews. We need to be able to send our children to schools that are very expensive. We need mitzvahs, a lulav and esrog. We need money. When Hashem gives us the wherewithal to accomplish that, He's not rewarding us. That's not reward. That's simply helping us to live the way we choose to live. And that's not called rewarding in this world. Now, the Vilna Gaon said on that, why is there no reward for mitzvah in this world? And we're using the Vilna Gaon's words. And these are fascinating words. He says, the lekeh b'may lishtalume, it's Aramaic. The lekeh b'may lishtalume, there's nothing in this world that's good enough, valuable enough to call that a reward. Nothing. What does that mean? What does that mean? I'll give you an anecdote. There was a famous Lithuanian Goen who lived 200 years ago, maybe 50 years ago. He lived in Lithuania, in Russia. He wrote for him called the Shav Shmaitzer. He was an Eli, a genius, but a genius who lived in poverty, absolute poverty, abject poverty. He lived in such poverty that when he was writing his brilliant Torah ideas, he didn't have a piece of paper to write them on. Couldn't even afford a paper and pencil. So he used to write on pieces of scrap, pieces of wood that he used to find, or pieces of cardboard, whatever, anything. And then all of a sudden he got a break, and he was offered a shtel in a big town. The rabbi of a town was a city, Mitz, well-known city, in closer to Germany. And so he and his wife arrived to this town, take on the new position, and guess what? Comes to the rabbi's house. This rabbi was used to living in a hut in absolute poverty, not as a house. They go into the house, walk in, and the Rebbitzin says to her husband, "But who's on the bed? Where are the beds?" He said, "No, this is only the entrance to the house. We're not in the house yet." And so they go from one room to the next, and the Rebbitzin keeps asking the question, "Who's in the bedroom?" And finally they get to the bedroom. Of course, the bed's not there. And when the Rebbitzin sees this luxury, she starts to cry. She says, "Maybe we're getting paid for serving Hashem in this world. Maybe we're getting our reward. Maybe this is our schar. Maybe we have no olam haba. Maybe this is what it's all about." And she started to cry. And he said to her in the words Rabbi Gifty loves to say in his Litvish Yiddish, he said to her, "Narish Yiddish." I could see Rabbi Gifty shouting it out, spitting it out. "Narish Yiddish. The mainstream became about Zonen for Torah mitzvahs with the solche tchotchkes. You think this junk can be used to pay for Torah mitzvahs?" In other words, you can't pay for something spiritual for something physical. It's another world. The spiritual world is a dimension of its own, and there's nothing in this world physically that can be used to pay for that. Whatever you think, it's all nothing. It's all nothing. It's all pennies. And he has over here, but believe it or not, when he gets this over here, he says, someone boards a bus. If you ever boarded a bus in New York, I know the bus is here, but I don't think I boarded a bus here. But in New York City, you board a bus, the driver only takes change. He only takes change. The last time I went on a bus with Marsha in Manhattan somewhere, I didn't have enough change. I took out the change I had. I showed it to the driver. I said, "Look, this is all I got. But if you want, I'll give you a paper note." But they don't take notes. So he said, he looked at the money, looked at me. He said, "Look, what you have is almost enough for a senior citizen." I'm still a kid then, So he said, "Put it in." Okay. All right. So here they use the analogy of a guy gets on a bus and he has $100 bill. So he has $100 bill. So he says to the driver, "Look, I want to get on the bus. I don't have a $100 bill." So the guy said, "So what do you want?" He said, "I'll pay with a $100 bill." He says, "Can you imagine paying with a $100 bill for a 25-cent drive? Can you imagine?" But this guy was ready to do it. He says, that's what it's all about. If someone thinks that you can pay for spiritual values, spiritual living with physical things, it's a joke. It's like spending $100 on a 25-cent ride, et cetera, et cetera. All right? This is how it is. Torah and mitzvahs is another word. Now, I want to take from that another thing on the same subject. I hope someone's keeping track of the time. All right? Because I have more to say than we can
half an hour.
No?
Half an hour.
It's half an hour. All right. Now listen to this. Irving Bunim is a man who, I've mentioned him a few times, he was very close to Ron Kotler. He was a very prominent American businessman in the 1940s and 50s and 60s in New York City. He was not a student of yeshivas, he was an American. And yet in the young Israel, the east side of New York, he used to give a shiur in Pirkei Avot for 25 years, which eventually a book was made, and the book has been reprinted by Feldheim twice. It wrote up to date. I have the old one here, and he did fascinating research and nice things to say. So he says this, and he discusses why should one keep the word of Hashem, And he said, of course, not for reward. Not for reward, because if your mother asks you to do something, you need a reward for that. If your father asks you to do something, if God asks you to do something, you need a reward.
Is anybody else hearing, or is it just our internet?
Well, cut off too.
Are you cut
Mine's
off?
also cut off.
I'm also cut off. They obviously got cut off. My parents
I
must
see
have.
you there.
If
I
everybody
see
could
you.
just,
Hi.
well, it's modern technology. If everybody could just give this 2 minutes, get your parents
Let
on
me
the phone.
just try and get a hold of him and see. Hold on 1 second.
In the meantime,
Okay.
I'll take over and I will say as follows. This is such a privilege to sit here and listen to this. So, hold on.
Thanks, Dave.
Hi guys. Hello, Brian here.
Hey,
My
Brian.
camera is broken.
It's okay. Your voice is. You can
My
hear.
camera is broken. I'm still at the office.
Okay. Can you hear him? Hi.
Yes.
Can you hear Brian?
Yes, we heard Brian.
Okay. Hello, Brian.
Hi, Gold.
Hi, Brian. How are you?
Good, thank you. Yourself?
Good, thanks.
Who's the baby? Oh, it's
Good. So hi, Bobby.
No,
oh,
she's not happy. She's not happy.
Goldie,
yeah.
have you guys had supper yet?
No, not yet. We were
Okay.
waiting. The kids
Right.
are hungry.
Just wondering.
The kids are hungry.
Guys, you're
Okay.
live on you're live on Facebook.
Goldie, you're live. You're live on Facebook.
On Facebook, really? How can I be live on Facebook? Really? Hi.
Hello?
Hi, Dad.
Can you hear?
Yes.
Can you carry on?
Yes.
Please continue. Everybody else, please put yourselves on mute.
I
Okay.
just put my.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you put a
Can you hear him?
Yes, we can hear you, but we can't see you. Please put your video on.
Oh, okay.
Is it on?
Yeah, see them.
Okay, there we go.
Okay. So the Baal Shem Tov wanted to build a mikveh in town. And he came to a year, the guy could afford to pay for a mikveh. And the guy said, listen, he says, I will pay for the mikveh. I'll pay for the whole thing myself on one condition. I want the Baal Shem Tov's chelik in Olam Haba. Whatever chelik in Olam Haba Baal Shem Tov has, I want it to accrue to me. And then I agreed to pay for the mikveh. So Baal Shem Tov said, fine, I agree. All right, I agree. And then the guy said, I want it in writing. I want a document. I want a signed document. So he gave it to me to sign document. Afterwards, the people turned to the Baal Shem Tov. And they said, how can you give away your Olam Haba? It's your whole life. Your whole life you worked for Olam Haba and suddenly you gave it away. Right? And the Baal Shem Tov gave 3 replies. First of all, he says, I have a principle. Tradition assures us. Tradition assures us that if a person gives away, whatever you give away for a mitzvah, it comes back 10 times. Whatever you give away for a mitzvah, it comes back 10 times. So I can't lose. I can't lose. Second of all, he says, second of all, while forfeiting my share in the world to come, I have in reality invested with every expenditure regaining that, as he just said. Secondly, the world to come would benefit me personally. A mikveh helps the whole town. What's more important, me or a town? Automatically, I have to put the welfare of the town in front of myself. And furthermore, he says, I have not worked for the world to come. I worked to do the will of God, and now I have a chance to do the will of God, knowing there's no reward. Right? That's a famous story of the Baal Shem, very famous story, and the point is being made to give away your Olam Haba to Klal Yisrael for a mitzvah. That means that the mitzvah is being done only l'shem Shemaim. What should be better than that? Now, my classmate in Telz many years, one of the most prominent members of our class, was a man my age, so my age. His name was Reuven Feinstein. Reuven Feinstein was the Rosh Yeshiva of the Yeshiva of Staten Island, and he is a son. He's a son of Rabbi Moshe Feinstein. He's the son of the famous Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, the Pirkei Avot. And he wrote a sefer on Pirkei Avot, which I bought a few months ago, which I'm enjoying thoroughly. And I'll quote you quite a bit of it eventually. But right now, I want to tell you this. In his book, he quotes the story I just told you about the Baal Shem, about the Vilna Gaon. The Vilna Gaon in Europe, one of the biggest problems they had in Europe was to find an Esther Sukkistan. They didn't grow in Central Europe, and they had to get them from overseas, from Cyprus, from what they did. It was not simple. And so a few wealthy Jews had an Esther, beautiful Esther, and they kept them for themselves, of course. And so the Vilna Gaon asked someone to go and find them an Esther. And the guy went and searched in the whole city. Messages were sent far and wide. When they finally found an Esther fit for the Goyim, they asked to buy it. And even if the price was much more than they wanted to pay, they would have paid it. But the man said no. No, he says he refused to sell it without the express condition that he'd received the schar of this mitzvah. He didn't ask for the all of it. He asked for the schar of the mitzvah of Esrig that the Goen would get. He said he wanted that for himself. He wanted that to be confirmed and agreed to. And the people didn't know what to do. How would they go home and tell the Goen to give away but they did it. They figured they're not going to get the Esther without it. They can't come back without an Esther. They did. They came back, and they were very nervous, agitated, as they figured they had to tell the Goen before Sukkot that they just did a transaction that he might not agree to. And when the Goen heard the story, etc., according to the version that Rabbi Feinstein quotes here, his reaction was the same as the Baal Shem. He said, "Beautiful. Finally, I'm doing a mitzvah with no thought of reward. All the time I'm getting rewards. This is without thought of reward. Beautiful. I'm fulfilled." So interesting. So here comes the punchline. The punchline is that Reuven Feinstein says that his father never accepted it. Rabbi Moshe, the Goldie Lapiner, the giant of Israel, the decisive of America, the Pirkei of the United States, Rabbi Moshe, he said, no, the Goen didn't say that. The Goen couldn't say that. Because if the Rebbeinu Shalom said there are rewards, there's all these things that we quoted before say there are rewards, how could the Goen poo-poo it? God wants to give a reward. Is there anything more tangible and lovely than that? God wants to give you a reward and you say you don't need it? It can't be. It didn't happen. Unless you're going to say that the God might have said, this should be a proof to Hashem that all the mitzvahs I do not for the sake of reward, etc. But I'm happy to get his reward. Hashem promised reward. It's good to have a reward. God wouldn't have promised it otherwise. And so Rabbi say, we have over here the many possibilities and there's validity in each one of them. And the words of the Goen smack true. The words of the Goen, in other words, the words of Rabbi Feinstein. In other words, Hashem promised the reward. God could do nothing greater for us than promise us his reward. It was his idea, not our idea. We didn't ask for it. And so we accept Hashem's rewards with graciousness, with love, and we hope we will get an abundance of it in this world and the world to come. Rabbi say, thank you for listening. Thank you for paying attention. Have a great day, all those near and far and wide, wherever you are. We love you, we miss you, and have a great day. Thank you.
Beautiful. Very nice. Lovely.
Guys, thank you all for joining.
Thank
The next
you.
show will be Wednesday, 5 p.m.
Bye, Bobby.
Gosh, Rabbi, thank you very